multiplication is going to happen. So now, if you take the matrix multiplication here, so it is nothing but the it is going to perform the computation of the single element of the resultant matrix by implementing the different equations. Okay, so if you take the matrix multiplication, there are several methods which have been used to perform the matrix multiplication. So here it is going to take two matrix and produce another matrix as a result. So there are several matrix method which are there to find the matrix of a given multiplication of a given matrices. But here what we are going to discuss is with respect to the matrix product. Okay, so it is a matrix product is an example which you are going to have. So now in this particular matrix product, how it is going to compute the matrix multiplication. So in the matrix product, it is going to compute each element of the resultant matrix. Okay, so each element of a resultant matrix as a linear combination of corresponding rows and columns. As we know that, so it's a combination of the rows and columns are they are going to multiply with each other. So in some fashion. Okay. So now if we take the example, so if we take the formula for each of the result for each if we take the formula for each of the resultant matrix which are going to have. So if we take the formula for that one, so the formula to compute the matrix, so which you are going to have compute matrix multiplication. So if we take the formula for computing the matrix multiplication, so you're going to have what? So if you assume that your output C of ij, okay, so C of ij, first what you should have. So you should have the condition that if you take the matrix, so the matrix will be having rows into column, right? So the condition is what here? If you have the two matrix, so the condition is what? Number of columns in first matrix, number of columns in first matrix should be equal to number of rows in second matrix. So that's a condition which you should have when you are doing the matrix multiplication. That is a simple thing which you are, it's a normal procedure what you have to go. So now if you take the, so if you want to have the 2 cross 3, we have 2 cross 3 matrix as one matrix, matrix 1. And if you have the matrix 2 as 3 cross 2, so the resultant matrix which you are going to have will be equal to the resultant matrix which you are going to have will be 2 cross 2. Okay. So now if you take the example, how this particular matrix will be performed. So if you take one example, let the matrix A, the elements which you are going to have is A, B, C, D. So here I am going to take the square matrix. So where B is equal to E, F, G, H. Okay. So when you are multiplying the square matrix, so first you have to check that whether the conditions to perform the multiplication is satisfied. Since the number of columns in first matrix is equal to some number of rows in the second matrix, it is valid. The resultant matrix which you are going to have, it will be having the dimension of 2 cross 2. So you are doing the performance of the multiple matrix. So the first element will be what? AE plus BG. So that will be your 0 cross 0. The element which is there in the element which will be there in the matrix 0 cross 0 is AE plus BG. So here it will be AF plus BH. So that will be your row column. So 0 column, first column. Similarly, here it will be what? CE plus DG into second it will be CF plus DH. Okay, this is how the multiplication will be performed. So now when you talk about the general formula for matrix multiplication, if we take the general formula for the matrix multiplication, So if we take the general formula, so if we take the general formula for the matrix multiplication, what will happen here is, so if we take the matrix, for assume that I have the matrix of size I comma k, and I have the B matrix which will be having j comma k comma j. So that is the dimension of the matrix which you are going to have. So it is I comma k and k comma j. So the resultant matrix, the output matrix which you are going to have will be C. It will be having the rows of ij. So let us assume that it is having the rows and columns as A of ik. It is having the row and column of k and j. The resultant matrix which you are going to have, it will be C of I comma j. So that's how it is going to be performed. So now when it is performing this particular operation, what you are going to have, so again, if you take this particular operation, so the resultant matrix C of I of j will be equal to summation of k is equal to 0 to n minus 1. That depends upon the number of rows or number of either the number of columns in the first matrix and the number of rows in the second matrix. That will be equal to A of ik into B of kj. So this is the normal formula which you are supposed to use. So this will be the common formula which you are supposed to use for your calculation of the matrix. Calculation of matrix has to be done. Now if we take some example, if we take IA is equal to, for example, so this is the element of 0 0, row column 1, so 1 comma 0, 1 comma 1. The element which will be there in this particular place is 0 comma, it will be treated as 0 column 0 row 0 that is first row 0th column. Similarly it will be what, 0th row first column first row. So if we take the same element now, if we take this one as the same, so even this will be having 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1 which are going to have. So the resultant matrix will be what now, according to this one is ij. Okay, so this will be I, this will be j. So for example, if I want to convert, if I want to have the element, so if I want to have the element, so if you take this particular element, the square matrix, if you have the square matrix of A and you have the square matrix of B. So if we take the square matrix of C, so if we take this particular element, so this will be what, C of 1 comma 1. So now C of 1 comma 1 will be equal to what? So if you take this C of, according to this particular formula, according to C of ij, C of 1 comma 1 will be equal to summation of k is equal to 0 to n minus 1 A. So here I is 1, 1k star B of k1. That's how the formula stands. Now here, when you are a substitute for that one, so we know that what is the value of the k? Here the value of the, if you take I comma k, so k is 1. Okay, so k is 2 here. So when you are going to have the k less, the k is equal to n minus 1. That is 0. It starts from 0. 0 to 2 minus 1 is 1. So it will be what now? So basically it will be, the formula will be, what's for that particular element will be A of 1 comma 0 into B of k of 0 plus B of 1 comma 1 into A of 1 comma 1 into B of 1 comma 1. So this is how the value for this particular corresponding element will be computed. So this one you already know how the matrix multiplication is going to happen in your matrix. So the same works good. So we should have the two double loops. So you have to create a double for loop. The first index iterates over the rows of the first matrix and the second over the columns of the second matrix. and it spans a thread to compute the elements of resultant matrix. So now, after computing all the individual threads, so you have to join all the threads for completion and compose the resultant matrix. Okay. So here it is the example what they have given. What is the example what they have given in your textbook. Okay. So which is having uh, the first matrix is having 4 cross 6, and the second matrix is having 6 cross 3. That is the number of rows into number of columns. So A, the matrix A is having the number of rows as 4 and number of columns as 6. The matrix B is having the number of rows as 6 and the number of rows as 6 and the number of columns as 3. So now once you have going to have the condition, what's the condition you are going to have the multiplication? The condition which you should have to perform the multiplication is the number of columns in the first matrix should be equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. So once that particular condition is solved, so I will start performing the multiplication. You can see it here. So if this particular value you are going to have, so you can see it. So you can have this particular value. So if you take first element, it will be 0, 1, right? So that is row into column. So if you take this one as 0, 1, 2, 3. So if you take this particular example, so how it will be done? So if you take 4, 6, okay. So 4 and 6. Okay. So it will be what now? 4, 6 it was going to have. So this is a reverse I have taken, right? Okay. So 4 6. Okay. So it will be, I am going to treat that particular element as 0, 1, 2, 3. So here also it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So similarly, I am going to have 4 rows and 6 column. Zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, 1, 2, 3. So the resultant matrix will be what now here? The resultant matrix will be 4 cross 3. Okay, the resultant matrix will be 4 cross 3, which you are going to have. That is number of rows is 4. 4 cross 3. So this won't be there. It's 4 cross 3 you're going to have. Okay. So now here, if you want to multiply the element of 2 and 1. So if you want to have the multiplication of 2 and 1 here. So even this one won't be there here. So this one, if you want to have the element in this particular part. So you have to multiply this part with this part, and you have to apply this particular part. Okay. That is C of 2, 1. So that will be equal to what now? So that will be summation of k is equal to 0 to n minus 1. And here it will be a of ik into b of k j. This is the formula which I am going to have. So now this will be has to be performed using program. So now whatever the input matrix you are going to have, the input matrix must contain values of the comparable nature for which the scalar product is to be defined. So the two different conditions hold in order to perform matrix product. Okay. So the two important conditions which are going to have, the number of columns in the first matrix should be equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. Second is whatever the values we are going to have, the input matrix, it should contain a number of comparable nature for which the scalar product is to be defined. So how the parallelism is to be achieved now? So now the parallelism when you are going to have, it will compute differently for this one. It will compute differently for this one. It will compute differently for this one. It will compute this one differently, this one differently, this one differently. So now at the output, so 12 different values it has to compute. 12 different values it has to compute, 12 different values. But the formula remains same. The function which is has to be done, the function is same. Only thing is different values is there. So all these 12 different values will be fed to the function, and which is having the different values, that will be done differently. That will be done differently. And at the end, that will be combined together. So that will be combined together. So when you are combining together 12 different threads you are going to have, and you are going to join the threads for completion and composing the resultant matrix. So this is how it is going to have. So in your .NET framework, or even if you are taking with the Java program also, it's going to provide you the some set of libraries. Okay, the system threading thread class it is going to provide. So it is going to have the function pointer, which will call that particular function. So they are going to make use of that particular function. Okay, that particular function. So you are going to have the public class scalar product. So this is one of the class. So I think you have gone through the basics of your Java in your first year. So you know how to in your fourth sem, I think. So next, when you are going to have the scalar product, so here when you are going to have the scalar product, so it's going to have the, I'm declaring that particular result what you are going to get as result. Now here I'm declaring one function to perform to get the result. So here I'm going to perform the result, get the result, and I'm going to return this dot result. So you can see it here. So it is not combined. Okay, it is different. So what that is going to have is, instead of this one, so that is public dot get dot result. So you're going to have, so it is a public double result of so get disability function. So I have to return this dot result. Return this dot result. So you are going to have the space between return and this dot result. What it is going to return back to the main function? It is going to return the result part to the main function. So your .NET is also similar to the Java. So only with the minor syntax change you are going to have. So .NET and Java both are same. So if you learn Java, then you do not have to have much worry about learning your .NET. So you are going to have the class called as system.threading class. So you are going to have the system.threading class, where it is going to create the number of threads. Okay, so where you are going to create the number of threads here, thread class it is going to create. Once you have created the thread class, so that will be configured with the function pointer. So you can see it in this one. So whatever this you are going to have, right? So this is there. So this is nothing but the function. This is a pointer in Java. Okay, this if you take, so this is a pointer in your object-oriented concept. Either it may be a C++, or it may be a .NET, or it may be a Java. Okay, C++, Java, and your .NET. So this refers to the pointer. This pointer. So what it is going to return? That is going to return the result. Okay. So that's how the basic Java programming or your .NET programming is going to work. So if you work with your Java and .NET, so both Java and .NET, both are almost same. I think it is 80 to 85% it is same. Only 15% it is going to have the difference. So remaining thing, every structure and the declaration and what you are going to call the function, everything will be same. So can anyone tell what do you mean by constructor? So I've gone through the basics of your OOPS concept. What do you mean by constructor? Can anyone tell what do you mean by constructor? If you know, if you are not forgotten. So now constructor is nothing but what? Uh, the name of the constructor is similar to the name of the class. So you can see it here. The scalar product is a class which has been defined, and the scalar product is the function name. So this is constructor. Okay. So the constructor will be having the same name as the class name, and only difference is, so whatever the value you are going to define when you are creating the object, the value which you are going to send to the class, so it will be initialized at the time of the creation of the object only. So it is created at the time of the creation of the object only. So if you take this particular, if you take the class, so if you take the, for example, if you have public static, so void main will be there. So at the end, void main. So you are going to have the string of args. This is the main program where you are going to call the class. Okay. So either it may be in Java or it may be in .NET. So when you are calling this particular program, what it will do is, so you are going to call, you have to create the you have to create the object for your scalar product class. So at that time, what will happen? So you are going to have the scalar product of SP is the object which you are going to create. That will be equal to new scalar product of, assume that it is 4,3. Assume that it is a 4,3. So that is the value which you are sending with this particular class is 4,3. So when it is receiving at the receiving end here, so it is the type of what? Double row it is going to receive, and column it is going to receive, and it is going to initialize with the row which are defined inside this particular class. Okay, it is going to define the data type which is being defined inside this particular class. So I think all of you have gone through the private, public, and protected in your Java programming, so that I don't have time to again re-discuss that one. So if you're forgotten, just go through it once and you read it once. What do you mean by public? What do you mean by private? And what do you mean by protected? So once you have that one, this is going to initialize the number of rows and number of columns. Once you are going to get the number of rows and number of columns, so in the next class, it is going to multiply it. When you are multiplying it, I'm basically initializing my result to 0. Okay, I'm basically initializing my result to 0. And I'm going to find the length of the matrix. So this particular length is nothing but the value of the k. Okay, the value of the k which you have been found out. So this is what this row length is, nothing but the value of the. So this is the value of the k. Okay, here. So this row length is going to specify that. So it is going to have the value of the k. So now once it is done, so you have to compute the result. So row of I stuff this particular length. So this will be equal to, so this what it will do. So if we take this one, this particular part. So what that particular will do is, so you can see it here. This dot row, this dot result for that particular cell. This part result for that particular cell will be equal to this dot row of I, this dot row of I, since this is a pointer in your .NET or in your Java or OOPS. So if you take, so this is a pointer. So I'm assigning that particular result to this dot row of I and this dot column dot I. So that's what it is going to specify. Till it equals what? Till it equals to the length. Till it equals to the product length. So that each individual, when it is creating the object, so each row and column, is going to create one, is going to create the thread, So that thread will be running parallelly along all the column. So if you are going to have this particular cell, so if I take 0, 1, this particular point, and 0, it is 0 over 0, 0, 1, and 1, 0, 1, 1. So all individual, it is going to run in parallel. So this is running in one thread, this will be running in one thread, and this will be running in another thread, this will be running in a thread, this will be running in one thread, and this will be running in one thread. Once all these runs in single different threads parallelly, at the ending stage, in the result, it is going to combine as one. So at the result, it is going to commit as, so 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Because only data are different here, but function say, for the functionality, the function is same. What you need to compute. So the function is what? This dot result will be equal to this dot row of I, star this dot column of I. So where this is a pointer in your .NET or Java. So if you take the example, if you refer to the textbook in this particular book, so they are going to provide that one as a that one is a pointer. .NET is the reference what they have taken in the textbook. So even if you take the .NET, so this is nothing but the pointer. So this is a pointer which will be used there. Okay. So similar to that one, this is about your domain decomposition. Domain decomposition is telling about here the function is same, but the data are different. So next is when it comes to the functional decomposition. What the functional decomposition will going to do? So when it comes with respect to functional decomposition, so it's a process of identifying functionally distinct. So as the name indicates, it's going to tell you that, so that particular part is going to tell you that it is functionally different. Okay, so it will be functionally different. So in your functional decomposition, if you take the functional decomposition, so in the functional decomposition, so here it is functionally distinct. And it's going to have the independent computation. So all of you understood, I think. So in your domain decomposition, what will happen? In domain decomposition, it is functionally same and independent computation will be there. Okay. So but here in the functional decomposition, even the functionality is also distinct, that is different. And even the computation which is going to happen, it is also different. So that's how it is going to happen. So you can see that it's going to have the process at the input side. So functional decomposition, what it is going to do? So whatever the problems you are going to have at the input side, so it is going to be divided into number of units of works. You can see in the figure. So you're going to have the process. In the process, you are going to have to calculate the area of the rectangle. It may have to calculate the area of the square. It may have to calculate the area of the circle, calculate the area of the triangle, and calculate the area of the parallelogram. Now all these three, to calculate the area, the formulas are different. That is, the function which you need to work is different. Now when you are going to have, how we are going to create the thread? So we have to pass the different values for that one. So for that one, what I are going to do? So this particular square, I am going to have a different function to calculate the square. To calculate the sum of the area of the square, I should have to give that particular part of the work to unit 1. And if I want to calculate the area of the rectangle, that I have to give to the create a thread, and I have to pass the parameter to that particular thread to calculate the area of the rectangle. Then if I want to calculate the area of the circle, so if you take the area of the circle, so then I have to pass that particular parameters which is required to calculate the area of the circle to the unit 3. So unit 3 here, units of work which is calculating to calculate the area of the circle is unit 3. Similarly, if you want to calculate the area of the triangle, it is going to be calculated in triangle part, that is unit 4. So similarly, it is going to have the parallelogram. In the parallelogram, it is going to send to the parameter unit 5. So you are going to have to send that particular value to unit 5. So finally, when you come to the result, so in the result, they may ask you that find the average of area of all the different shapes. So I have to calculate the result as a whole now. So it will be combined together here. So it will be combined together and it is going to give you the different areas for different shapes which have been allocated. So that means you can see it here, the unit of work which is going to have. So the decomposition of problem here, what you are going to have. So in separate units of work, it is going to be performed. So now here, it does not. So if we take the data set, so whether we can partition the data set here, so it does not involve the partition of the data set, because since the data set is not different for different, it is totally different for different unit. So we don't have to be having the partition of the data set as in your domain decomposition. In your domain decomposition, so we are going to have the different data to be partitioned. But whereas in your functional decomposition, even the data which you are going to have is not same, and we don't have the problem of partitioning the data itself. So there in the domain decomposition, we have the partitioning of data. Here we don't have the partition of the data set. But the separation among them is clearly defined by distinct logic operations. That means whenever you are going to have the separation, so if unit 1 means what? Area of the square, which will be equal to a square. Area of the square will be equal to length into length. Unit 2 will be equal to, it is going to calculate the area of the rectangle, which will tell you the area is equal to length into breadth. Unit 3 is going to perform the area of the circle, where it requires the parameter as radius. So area of the circle will be equal to pi r square. So if you take the unit 4, it's going to calculate the triangle. So it requires the length and breadth of the half into base into height. So that is the, it is on the base length of the base and the base of the height for calculating triangle. So similarly, to calculate the area of the parallelogram, it requires some formula. Okay. So and at the end, it is going to combine all together. So subject to functionality decomposition. So at raw cost, so what it does, it requires both decomposition phase also, and it requires composition phase also. So decomposition is going to occur at the input side. So that means the unit of works which is going to have, it is going to be decomposed. So it is going to be whatever the work is there, total work. So that has to be decomposed using unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, and unit 5. So once it is calculated, when you are decomposed the unit of, when you are decomposed the work at the input side, so at the output, what you need to do? At the output, we need to compose this. You need to have the composition. So the outcome of each of the independent units of work are composed together at the output side. So for example, if you take, it's a sin x, if you have the different formulas. So like if I want to calculate this, if I have the one domain and one, so I have one unit of works. So assume that my data is same. So data is x I am going to have. So I want to find the sine, cosine, and sum of sin x plus cos x plus tan x. So the value which you are sending for x is same here. So value of sum which is coming for finding the x is same. But what you have to find, so at the end, we need to find the sum of all the sin x plus cos x plus tan x. Okay, so that's what it is going to do here. So you are going to find the function, you are writing the function. So that particular function depends upon the value x. So your fx is equal to what? You are going to have the sin x plus cos x plus tan x. You are going to have. Now here, the value which you are passing is x. The value is, the data is same now. But what the functionality is there? The functionality is different. Your sin x is, the functionality is different here. In this example. So here the functionality is different. So when you are going to have the functionality different, so all these different functionality which is going to have, it has to be divided into different unit of work and it has to be calculated. Finally, once it has been calculated, when you want to find the result, you have to compose it. So individually calculating, you have to decompose it. So I want to calculate individually. So when you want to calculate individually, you have to decompose that one. Okay, so you have to decompose that one when you want to calculate individually. So as it so as I told you that, so it will be function. So f of x will be equal to sine of x plus cos of x plus tan of x. Now this function is different. This function is different. This cos x is different. To calculate this tan is different. But the value which you are going to calculate for the function x is same for all. Now once you have that one, sin x will be running in one thread. Sin x requires one thread to calculate the value of sin x. Similarly, to calculate the value of cos x is one thread. To calculate the value of tan x is another thread. So at the output stage, combine all these threads. So that is first thread, second thread, third thread. So combine first, second, and third thread. So that is nothing but combine or join operation you are going to perform. So the output function of x will be equal to what now? Sin x plus cos x plus tan x. So this is nothing but what? It's composing. This is nothing but it is composing the value. So this is what you mean by function decomposition. This is what you mean by function decomposition. So here you are going to have to calculate the value of x. So I want to create three class. One is the sine class, other is the other one is sine class, other is cos class, other is tan class, and final is the result. Okay. So once you are done, so you can see it here double dot x update result updater. So here this dot x is x and this dot updater will be equal to updater. So when you are going to have the apply, so what I need to calculate? I need to calculate the value of sin x. So when you want to calculate the sin x, so you can see it here, this dot y will be equal to math dot sine of this dot x. So here what I am told is this is a pointer. Okay, this is a pointer. So if you have referred if you have gone through your Java basics properly, then you will understand this one. So it is similar to the Java. So you have to have the class. Inside the sine class, you are going to compute the value of sin x. First, I have to receive the value. Once you receive the value, so you are going to receive the value through the constructor. This is a constructor. Okay, this particular part is constructor. Okay, so if you have gone through that one, and you are going to apply that one, what you are going to apply? So you are going in the apply function, you are going to apply that, or you are going to compute the value of sin x. So you are going to have this dot y will be equal to math dot sine this dot x, because why I am include the math is this is a library which will help you to compute the maths. Now, if the updater is not equal to none, okay, so that means if you have computed the maths of sine dot x, so this will be equal to updater of this dot y. So what you are going to have updater result, updater value will be updated with the value this dot y. This is how it is going to perform this operation. Okay. So next, similarly, you are going to have the cos x. So here also the same thing happens. So here also this dot x, this dot updater is equal to updater. Next is going to compute it, apply math dot cos this dot x. If this dot updater not equal to null, this dot updater of this dot y, that is also computing the y of the cos x. Next is going to have the program. So in the program, you are going to create what? So sine. So here it is the main program. So this is the main class. Public class program is the main class. From the main class, you are going to access the sine class as well as the cosine class. So I am going to have the result. So sync root new object. So inside the main program, I'm going to initialize double x 3.4. That is a pi, so the value of x I'm going to pass, which is a type of double. So sign. So sign is nothing but what? This is object creating of class sign. So that will be equal to new sign. So new sign, this particular syntax is for .NET. So whereas in your Java, there is having the space between new and sign. Whereas in your .NET, you are going not having any space. New sign of x dot x comma updater. These are the parameters you are passing. X dot updater. Okay. So you are passing the value of x and you are passing the value of updater. So next you are creating the thread. Okay, you are creating the thread. So what thread you are creating? You are creating a thread of t sign, which will be equal to new thread start of sign dot apply. So that will create the thread of make sign, and it will start the thread for calculating of sign value. Similarly, you are going to create the another object of cosine, that cos, and you are going to initialize the constructor. You are going to get the value of the x and updater value here. After getting that one, you are going to create a thread, another thread. Okay, so it will be calculating the value. This particular thread is going to calculate the value of cos x. Okay, similarly, if you have tan, I have to create one more tangent class. So tangent class, I'm going to create it. So that particular tangent class, I'm going to have x dot operator. So in your PPT, I have not shown that one, but you have to write it by yourself. So now it is going to create all the tangent new thread here. Now I have to start the tangent thread also. I have to start the sine thread also. I have to start the cosine thread also. So cultivate the habit of asking the doubts.